welcome to Wildly Average. Today we'll be talking about one of the latest offerings by Toy Logic. I'm talking about Nier Replicant version 1.2247448739. Do I have to say that every time? If you like these videos, please be sure to like and subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Back in 2010, Cavia and Square Enix released a game called Nier, a spin-off of the Drakengard series. And while the game itself didn't exactly tear the world down, it was a fun, interesting jaunt into a fascinating world with even better storytelling. Now, the version of this game varied depending on where you lived in the world. Japan had a teenage boy looking after his little sister, Yona, as your protagonist. This version of Nier was called Nier Replicant. If, however, you were based in the West, your protagonist was a middle-aged man and Yona was instead his daughter. This version was known as Nier Gestalt. Why the difference? Well, supposedly the big, muscular, middle-aged dude would be more appealing to Western fans as opposed to the slender, bishy teenager. Also, Westerners are far more likely to believe that a big, burly guy was capable of swinging some of the truly massive swords in the game. I mean, this was way back in 2010. We had never heard of effeminate pretty boys swinging enormous swords. What? Anime? What the hell's that? We've never heard of it. Other than appearance and a few lines of dialogue changed to fit whether the protagonist was Yona's brother or father, there were no real variations in the story between releases. So anyway, both versions of the game came out to a fairly mixed reception, with praise for the story, the characters, and the soundtrack, but was criticized for, well, how a lot of the other elements of the game came together, and also the action, which at times could feel very much like a slog. Not a great selling point where a lot of your gameplay loop revolves around combat. Despite the fairly middling to above average reviews, the game earned a cult following, willing to forgive those flaws for what could be a truly moving narrative experience. It was one of those games that would eventually become vindicated by history, the kind of game that flies under the radar, but eventually is looked on fondly. 11 years later, and following the success of Platinum Games' exceptional sequel Nier Automata, and Toy Logic are making a remaster of the original PS3 version called Nier Replicant version 1.2247448739. Now, Nier Replicant version 1.22 Damn it, I'm just going to call it the new Nier Replicant. Anyway, as the name implies, the new Nier Replicant is a remaster of the original Japanese version and addresses some of the issues critics had with the original game, namely the graphics and the gameplay. Running on the more powerful PS4, Xbox One, and their next-gen counterparts, the game has gone from graphically bland to stunning, and taking a cue from Nier Automata, the gameplay has gone from simply serviceable to genuinely fun. The new Nier Replicant has also had its narrative slightly modified to tie in better with the eventual sequel. As is the case with the Drakengard games, and what we've come to expect from a Nier experience, the narrative is always the game's strongest point, and Nier veterans will know that seeing the end credits on your first playthrough simply means that you've finished the first part of the game, with new perspectives, new story elements, and new endings, both canon and non-canon, unlocked on subsequent playthroughs. Nier is the game that grips you with storytelling. The original version was unfortunate that the gameplay made getting through the story a less than fun experience. The new Nier Replicant fixes that and delivers on every count. How has your experience with the new Nier Replicant been? Let us know in the comments below.